So you guys can see we're using set lines today, and it's a kind of a specific kind of set line. It's an automatic hook setting device, and these aren't legal in all states. Make sure if you guys are gonna look into using these that they are legal in your state, but here in Wisconsin they're legal for us. And they're really great for fishing these trout because they can be really finicky, and if they feel any kind of tension or they feel a hook once they're running away with that bait, they can spit it instantly.
Yep.
So what we like to do is set these autos really sensitive, really light, so they can only take a minimal amount of line before that rod goes off and pins that hook in that fish, and you can adjust that with this bobber here.
Absolutely. So we got the bobber here. You can see we got a little bit of space, and I'll try not to hook myself. But as I take that up, we got about 4 inches that fish was able to move before the rod's gonna come off of
your pin.
The pin down.
Set.
Yep.
And you can, with bigger minnows, you can set this, longer or shorter, as long as it doesn't get wrapped around this piece here. But with minnows, you want to give them a little bit of slack sometimes, just so they can kind of maybe grab it, get it turned in their mouth, and then once they're running away, you can get that hook into them right away. And it's a lot different from, say, a tip up or a dead stick or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the beauty of this is obviously the quick hook set, but then once you got the fish hooked, you're fighting them on a rod and reel.
Exactly.
So.
Yep. The other thing too is that with this quick hook set is those fish aren't going to have a chance to get it down their throat, where in that point you might be hurting the fish or possibly killing the fish, or have to cut a line with a fish with a hook down its throat.
Absolutely.
So as far as a conservation standpoint, it's really good for your fishery and can help you get the fish back in the water as healthy as possible. With these rods, I guess with so much bend in them, do you think you'd prefer a glass rod over a graphite rod?
I would prefer a glass rod. It's not absolute necessity, but a glass rod does have a little bit more of the characteristics you're looking for. It's got more flexibility. It's going to take the abuse that you're giving the rod just by having it in the automatic hook setting device. Sure. It's going to take that better. And then because we're sitting down here in Milwaukee fishing brown trout, we're not hopefully targeting 5-pound fish. We're looking for bigger fish with big head shakes. So that glass rod is going to absorb a lot more of that head shake and inevitably help you land the fish better.
And you're not possibly break a rod if it gets below zero, the graphite over time, stress fractures and such. So there's a few different popular automatic hook setting devices, and maybe the most popular one that's been around the longest is the Automatic Fisherman. It's the one we have here. The thing with the autos is you actually put the rod tip, the eyelet of the rod tip, to a pin. So in that case, if you're gonna get a specific rod, generally a shorter one for these automatics, without the insert is the biggest thing, because with that pin being in there, that insert's going to take a lot of abuse, and then you might just have an insert flopping around. As where the jaw jackers give you the ability to run a longer rod.
And then they also have basically a zip tie that you attach instead of the rod tip directly, so you can run whatever rod you really want without having to worry about the insert breaking or anything like that.
Both are great devices. It's just a matter of what you want to use for equipment. And another thing that's really important too is drag, because this auto is going to go off and that fish is going to be fighting the rod by itself without someone there taking in line or taking care to the fish.
Correct. So big thing with drag is you want to make sure it's set correctly. So as the fish swims away here, it's going to pop off of the pin, and you want that drag to slip, so when that fish is running, it's not doing this and taking your whole setup in.
But it's slipping, just enough to keep pressure on the fish, let them take a little bit of line, and let you get there in time, to keep a hook in the fish, obviously keep the rod bent, but still have enough pressure on the fish, we're not going to be able to shake that hook. So both these devices that we talked about are both great for trout fishing and a lot of other species as well. You can even fish panfish on them, walleyes and whatnot. The only thing that you might be scared to use something like this for is when you're using really large baits, say for pike or for lake trout, when you actually want to give that fish time to maybe turn that bait in their mouth, get it down a little bit, so you're not instantly ripping the bait out of that fish's mouth before they have the hooks. So you can go back to your standard tip up or set line instead of automatic hook setting device like these.
Yep. Thrifty way of doing that would just be not to use it, and if you don't have a
bait runner
reel, just loosen your drag up, so that way that fish is going to take it and he's able just to pull line real nice and easy with minimal amount of tension, but your bigger bait is going to stay there.
Yep. And there are newer technologies that have came out or setups that have flag attachments to them to let you know when you have a strike.
Yeah,
so you can see them from a longer distance away.
Yep.
So both great options, but the autos are really good, like we said, for a lot of things, or the automatic hook setting devices are great devices for hooking that fish instantly, not hurting your fishery, but also generally used on a smaller bait application.